The following is intended for mature audiences. Screamers of the society, thank you for being here. Now, you know I have to. Before getting into the episode, I want to share this submission that I believe will have you asking yourselves, how far is too far? Not really a spooky story, but definitely one of the scariest messes I've gotten myself in. Sophomore year of high school was rough. I was struggling with my sexuality, like a lot of people, and I made a secret Facebook account where I said that I was 18 and I could post freely. That's where I met this guy who said he was 19 and lived in Colorado. I was in Seattle. We started talking constantly for hours every day and even had phone calls. Things eventually got inappropriate. There were sexual conversations and photos, but that's when things started feeling weird. The photos he sent didn't all look like the same person's body. Weeks had gone by at this point, and I already had feelings for him, so I ignored it at first. We were even saying we loved each other. I ended up calling him out, and it turns out he wasn't 19. He was in his 40s. After that, we had an argument, and he confessed he was in love with me. He even sent real photos of himself, which the older me might not think he was bad looking, but the younger me felt sick. I knew this was wrong, but I kept it going. I guess I craved the attention. It even got to a point where he started sending me gifts. He sent me jackets, he sent me shoes, things I had to lie to my parents about. I would tell them that they were prizes I won from school, which what school gives out clothes and prizes? This guy even wanted to fly me out to see him, but I always found excuses. But it got to the point where I couldn't lie anymore. I had to tell him the truth about my age, and I said that I wanted to end things. He didn't take that well. He wanted to keep talking. Then he got angry and even threatened to out me. So I just finally blocked him, and then I deleted my account altogether. I wasn't ready to come out, and I had no one to really talk to about it. I was so paranoid. This man had my address. This man had sent me gifts. This man knew way too much about me. I thought he would show up to my house or something. But luckily, that was the end of it. I think because I was a minor, he decided to back off. Years later, I told my parents about this. I had already come out, obviously. My dad thought it was funny, whereas my mom said that she knew I was lying, but thought the gifts were from a girlfriend at school. Welcome to a world where darkness and mystery converge. Navigate the depths of horror and true crime and join a society beyond the ordinary, where buzzworthy topics, paranormal tales, and listener-submitted experiences blend into a realm of the unknown. You have crossed into a place where the unusual and the terrifying are just the beginning. My name is Ralph Anthony, and welcome to the Scream Society podcast. Hello, Screamers. Welcome into another spooky Halloween edition of this Friday podcast from hell. No! As we inch closer to the end of spooky season, witness the downfall of Labubu's and 911 dispatchers seeing an uprise in scary Halloween decoration calls, I hope you all are doing all right out there. And most importantly, happy Halloween. My life has consisted of nothing but Fear Fest on AMC, and if there is one thing that truly brings me joy, it's that. Even if it's just for background noise when I'm cooking or even doing research for episodes, I have to have it on. No matter how many times I've seen the original Halloween, Halloween 4, all of it, I love it so much. I've been feeling really good lately. I just left a job that no longer brought me any happiness, and I'm starting a new journey in early November. And yeah, I also lost close to 20 pounds, which I'm really fucking proud of. Like, weight and my relationship with food, it's always been probably one of my biggest challenges. I'm not on any crazy diet or anything, but I truly believe just moving your body more and being mindful of what you eat is truly the key to being healthier and feeling better. So yeah, I've just been walking more and diving into weighted cardio, walking aerobics on top of lifting. It's just been fun. And I sound crazy saying that that's been fun, but it's what I like to do. And like I said, just feeling better has been what keeps me motivated, honestly. And no, this isn't turning into a fitness podcast. I'm still here to scare you. So now I'm going to let that be the segue into this episode's topics because I don't want to get off on a million tangents here. And stick around for my reaction to that opening story. But right now, I want to start with this very bizarre 911 call that stumbled across my desk. This one at first sounded a bit off to me, but after some further digging and all that, it's allegedly legit. Now, back in September of 2025, this audio started spreading of a 911 call out of North Carolina where you can clearly hear a man screaming, "That's not human." The call was made in Pender County, North Carolina, and the clip made its way around, of course, TikTok, YouTube, and pretty much every other social platform. But it featured a panicked man describing this bloodied figure on the side of the road. While he's on the phone with dispatch, there's this sudden thump, and then you hear him shout, "That's not human." According to the caller, something or someone jumped or fell into the bed of his pickup truck. He says he managed to shake it off by speeding up and slamming on the brakes, sending it flying over the hood. There were reports after that it was fake, but has since been fact-checked to be true. And more on that later. But just take a listen and be the judge for yourself.
Pender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay. And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road, it's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am, I just turned on my bed lights for my truck and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
Now, netizens immediately started throwing around words like skinwalker, cryptid, and government cover-up because, of course. And I even said that under my breath while listening. I was like, this is a skinwalker. So here's what's actually known. The call was verified as authentic by the Pender County Sheriff's Office. They even provided the full, unedited 11-minute version of the call along with the incident log. Now, according to the caller, who was only identified as T for privacy, this actually happened on July 31st, 2021, around 11 p.m. He was driving along Highway 210 near a community called Patriots Watch and later pulled into the parking lot of Mall Pass Corner store. That drive time actually matches up with Google Maps too, which also gives the story another layer of credibility. Now, unfortunately though, when first responders showed up, they searched the area and, of course, uncovered nothing. No person, no animal, no signs of impact. They even used a drone, but ultimately found nothing. The video that really blew this story up was posted on September 13th, 2025 by a YouTube channel called Carolina Case Files. The creator, by the name of Rusty Martin Sr., said he first heard the full call months earlier and had to convince the caller to go on record. And in the video, he does not show the caller's face. It's angled to where you only see the back of his head. Now, in that same video, the caller described what he saw in the back of his truck as a pale, featureless figure, no nose, no ears, just these deep sunken in eyes and long stretched out limbs. He said it was taller than his 6-foot truck and that it ran into the woods after he managed to knock it off. Now, at one point during the 911 call, the operator actually asked if it might be a turkey, which, girl, I guess. And side note, why was the dispatcher acting as if she couldn't understand anything? That was the most frustrating part about this 911 call. There wasn't any urgency or concern coming from her. At least just basing my judgments off of the call alone, that's what she was giving, okay? And she should take notes from the dispatcher who took that weed brownies call. If you know, you know. So the caller quickly shut down the operator, asking if what he had seen was a turkey. He said there's no way, it had no feathers, it was pale, and I don't believe turkeys get as big as this guy is describing. The sheriff's command log did note that scratches found on his truck looked like they could have come from tree branches and not claws or anything unusual. But my question is, if this thing was long and had long skinny arms, wouldn't it just have long skinny fingers that could replicate tree branch scratches? I don't know. But still, the man seems to be absolutely convinced that whatever he saw was not human. Some called it a hallucination, others called it a skinwalker encounter. Even comparisons to the creepypasta monster known as the Rake are being made. And I can see why too, because the Rake is described as this pale, hairless, humanoid creature. But either way, to me, it's one of those stories that it sticks with you and picks at your brain because there's just enough truth from this to make it impossible to ignore or to just dismiss as fake altogether, right? Us humans, we're curious creatures and we have a curiosity about fantastical creatures. So on that note, I will leave that up to you to decide. Let's get into sinister subjects. On the podcast Instagram at Scream Society Podcast, I asked you guys what paranormal stories or legends freaked you out as a kid. Then I might pick some to cover on the podcast. And aside from about 20 Llarronas, which fair, she's classic, she's iconic, but there were a few others that I had never heard of before. Okay, so picture this. You're out late at night, walking home after maybe a few too many drinks, and you see this beautiful woman by the river. Long dark hair, maybe wearing a flowy white dress, and she's just there, bathing in the moonlight. It's giving mysterious, it's giving come hither, but before you start thinking it's your lucky night, nope. Because if you get too close, this isn't just some random girl. This is La Siguanaba. Now, like I said, I had asked you guys for your paranormal stories or legends that freaked you out as a kid. And one that really stood out to me was this one, which came from Dizzy Ouija, who sent me this. La Siguanaba. It's creepy. My parents are from El Salvador, and they would tell me stories about it. My dad said she appeared in front of him once, but he ran away before she could get him. He used to tell me she'd show up bathing naked in the river near where he lived when he was younger, but always late at night. He said some men disappeared back then, and people believed it was her, but ghost stories. And that immediately caught my attention. Creepy, mysterious, unsettling. I was interested. Now, this legend shows up all across Central America: Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and even parts of Mexico, which this can sometimes be confused with La Llorona lore. This one is kind of like a shape-shifting spirit, and from behind, she looks absolutely stunning. Long hair, flawless body, super ethereal energy, just queen shit. Now, she's either naked or wearing something sheer and flowy, hanging around rivers, public water tanks, or streams, usually at night, under the moonlight, washing clothes or bathing. But she never shows her face right away. That's her trick. She waits until her victim, usually a man wandering alone at night, gets close enough, completely mesmerized, and then she turns around, and that's when you realize she's not human, because her face, it's either a skull or a horse's head. The original legend says she specifically goes after unfaithful men, cheaters, liars, players, the ones out creeping when they shouldn't be. When she reveals her true face, if the guy doesn't literally drop dead from fear, he goes completely insane. Some versions even say she can take the form of a man's girlfriend or wife to lure him away. And she doesn't just target adults. When she appears to children, she'll look like their mother. And once they run to her thinking it's safe, she touches them. And that's it. They lose their mind, and she leads them deep into the woods until they're completely lost. There are a few old tricks people say will protect you if you ever cross paths with her. Just in case, right? In Guatemala and El Salvador, locals say that you can make the sign of the cross or bite your machete. Apparently that gets rid of her and your fear at the same time. But where does the name originate from? Well, the name Siguanaba actually comes from indigenous Mesoamerican languages, mostly Nahuatl. The root word chihuahua means woman, and some versions translate it as naked woman, concubine, or even net woman. And that last one kind of fits. She literally captures men in her web of attraction before showing her real terrifying self. Kind of like when dating, how you're all nice and cute in the beginning, and then once you've got them, you show your true selves. Or is that just me? So depending on where you hear the story, she's called La Siguanaba in Guatemala, La Siguanaba with a C in El Salvador, La Sigua in Honduras, or La Segua in Costa Rica. Different names, same nightmare. At her core, she's this beautiful, ghostly woman who appears to tempt and punish those who fall for appearances. So, moral of the story, if you ever see a gorgeous woman by the river at night who just won't turn around, don't follow her, because that's not your lucky night. That's La Siguanaba. Now, this next one, it wouldn't be a Halloween episode without her. La Llorona. Yeah, this is a story that basically almost every Mexican household has a version of. Chances are someone, your mom, your tia, your abuela, told you this story at least once. Because I am of Mexican descent, this story was told all throughout my childhood. My grandma especially swore up and down that she'd heard her. Longtime listeners already know my grandma's had her fair share of paranormal experiences. But the one that always gets me was a time she said she was woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of a woman crying right outside her window. And it wasn't just once, it happened multiple times. So for those who might not know, La Llorona, which literally means the weeping woman, is one of the most famous and tragic ghosts in Latin American folklore. The story goes that she was once a beautiful woman who fell in love with a wealthy man. They had children together, but eventually she discovered he'd been unfaithful. And in a fit of rage and heartbreak, she drowned their children in the river. The moment she realized what she had done, she was overcome with guilt and sorrow, and she drowned herself too. Now, condemned by her own actions, her spirit roams near rivers and lakes, canals, just forever crying out for her lost children. People say if you hear her crying, "Ay mis hijos," it's bad news, like either misfortune or death is coming your way. Some say your life just kind of falls apart and nothing goes right after. And what's wild is that this story goes way, way back. The earliest documentation of La Llorona goes all the way to 1550 in Mexico City, and some researchers think it may have roots in Aztec mythology. There's this ancient figure, Siguanaba, an Aztec goddess of motherhood who was said to weep for her lost children. There's also Cotlacu, Our Lady Mother, another goddess associated with both creation and destruction, and even the Virgin of Guadalupe has been linked to this same theme of sorrowful motherhood. It's like the image of a woman weeping for her children is deeply woven into Mexican identity, both mythologically and culturally, right? And then there's La Malinche, the Nahua woman who became Hernan Cortez's interpreter during the Spanish conquest. She bore his child and has been viewed throughout history as both the mother of the Mexican people and a symbol of betrayal. Some say La Llorona's story evolved from that. This deep mix of love, loss, and guilt tied to colonization and identity. But no matter which version you hear, the ending's always the same. She's doomed to wander forever, crying for her children, searching for them near rivers, lakes, and canals. Some stories say she tries to take other children, mistaking them for her own. Others say she appears to warn people like a dark omen before tragedy strikes. And get this, one of the earliest written accounts we have actually comes from the Florentine Codex, a 16th century document describing the omens before the Spanish invasion of Mexico. It mentions a woman heard crying at night, wailing, "Oh, my children, we are about to go forever." And over time, the story's taken on new shapes. Sometimes she's a vengeful spirit, sometimes a tragic mother, sometimes just a warning told to kids who won't come home before dark. Her story has even been incorporated into the Conjuring universe. Now, moving on into the final childhood horror story that you guys requested. This one came from the unofficial demo, and it's a classic, Bloody Mary. Now, if you grew up in the late 90s or early 2000s, you know this one. The sleepover legend, the turn off the lights, stare into the mirror, and summon a ghost one. Just saying her name gives me flashbacks to family members, bathrooms, and bad dares, honestly. So, Bloody Mary is one of those creepy urban legends that's been around forever. Depending on who you ask, she's a ghost, a witch, a demon, a spirit, maybe even a vengeful queen. But the idea is always the same. If you say her name in front of a mirror enough times, she'll appear. And whether she's good or evil depends on which version of the story you've heard growing up. The earliest versions of the ritual were actually kind of wild. It wasn't even meant to be scary. Back in the day, young women were told to walk up a staircase backwards in a dark house while holding a candle and a hand mirror. Supposedly, if they looked into the mirror, they'd catch a glimpse of their future husband's face. But if they saw a skull or like the Grim Reaper instead, that meant they'd die before getting married. Super uplifting little party trick there, if you ask me. Now, over time, that ritual evolved into what we know now. You go into the dark bathroom and chant Bloody Mary into the mirror. Some say 3 times, some say 13, and I've even heard 47, which feels excessive, but okay. The stories say she can appear as a corpse, a witch, a ghost, sometimes covered in blood, sometimes screaming, sometimes trying to drag you into the mirror. The being dragged into the mirror version is the one I'm probably most familiar with, and some versions even mix her name up like Hail Mary or Mary Worth. And other cultures have their own spin on it too, like in Japan. They have Hanako-san, the spirit of a girl who haunts school bathrooms. Same energy, just different hemisphere, right? Now, people have tried to tie the name Bloody Mary to real women in history, and honestly, there are a few contenders. The most famous one is Mary I of England, the daughter of Henry VIII, who earned the nickname Bloody Mary after ordering the execution of around 300 Protestants during her reign. Then there's Mary Worth, who some say was a witch burned at the stake, while others claim she was a woman who killed slaves escaping through the Underground Railroad. So It's been one of those legends that's part of history, part horror, and completely got lost in translation over time. But okay, so I kind of have a Bloody Mary story, and I actually love doing episodes like these because it jogs my memory a bit, because I wouldn't just up and say, welcome into the Scream Society, let me tell you about my Bloody Mary story. Like, no. So one night, my sister and my cousin and I were hanging out. I think we were watching The Lion King. We were in my dad's room, and he had this white mirror on the wall. And I used to love this mirror because he had small photos on it, one of me as a baby and him at the fair in one of those like photo strips. He had a photo of Selena and some Posh Spice Girl lollipop stickers, because I used to give those to him because he was a huge Posh Spice fan. Now, of course, because we were dumb little kids with no self-preservation instincts, we turned off the lights and said Bloody Mary 3 times. And I don't know if it was the energy in the room or our imagination running wild, but something just shifted, because my cousin, who was the type to joke about everything, he was also the type to make us do shit we didn't want to do, obviously. He suddenly got really quiet. Then he freaked out and said that he saw blood on the mirror, that blood was dripping down the mirror. And I obviously didn't believe him. I thought he was just trying to scare me because that's what he used to love to do. And also, there wasn't blood on the mirror. But then he threw up, got up, ran to the bathroom, and threw up. His mom ended up taking him home after, and my sister and I were fine. But I'm sure it was probably just coincidence, or maybe we worked ourselves up so much that his body just reacted somehow. But I still think it's a pretty creepy story. Either way, I've never tried that again. Let's take a break.
From the blood-soaked depths of late-night horror comes a collection so shocking, so scandalous, it'll make your wardrobe scream. Want my face on your chest? Or maybe you just want to rep the cult, the logo, the legend, the Scream Society? Don't just listen to the nightmare, wear it, rep it, live it. Get it now before it gets you. Head to scream-society.printify.me and rep Scream Society merch.
We are back and getting into Terrifying But True, the segment where I choose one random true crime or paranormal case and do a deep dive on it. This episode, I'm diving into the unsettling disappearance of Ryker Webb. More unsettling is when he was found alive 2 days later. Let's get into it. When the unthinkable becomes reality, we find ourselves questioning everything, as some stories are too terrifying but true. The disappearance of little Ryker Webb is a case that has a lot of controversy around it, lots of debate and division about what actually happened. Some say it was his parents, some question how he even survived, and that's why it seemed fishy. It was portals, creatures, all these theories. And maybe it's the disturbing photo of him. Maybe it's the silence in between, but this story has haunted the internet ever since it happened. So let's go back. It's June 3rd, 2022, in a small rural area near Troy, Montana. It's a Friday afternoon, calm. The kind of quiet day people in that area are used to. You have 3-year-old Ryker Lee Webb playing outside in front of his house with the family dog, a red heeler mix, while his dad is inside for just a minute, literally a minute. When he comes back out, Ryker's gone. At first, the family thinks he probably wandered off somewhere close, maybe down the driveway, maybe following the dog toward the trees. But when they start calling his name and there's no answer, and the dog comes back alone, the panic set in. So after about 2 hours of searching on their own, Ryker's parents finally call 911, and that's when the community of Troy mobilizes. Now, keep in mind, Troy is a small mountain town surrounded by dense forest, rugged terrain, and thick underbrush. The area near Bull Lake, where the search took place, is as wild as it gets. We're talking steep slopes, streams, and enough trees to get lost in within minutes. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office launched a massive search effort that Friday night. They brought in drones, ground teams, canine units, and boats to check the shoreline. Dozens of volunteers joined in, combing through the woods, yelling Ryker's name, but then the weather turned. That night, a series of thunderstorms rolled through the area, bringing heavy rain, lightning, and temperatures that dropped into the 40s, cold enough to cause hypothermia in a child that small. Search crews were ordered to stop at times because it just wasn't safe to be out in those conditions. Where, meanwhile, helicopters from the Montana Air National Guard were on standby. So by the next morning, June 4th, they were flying low over the forest, using infrared imaging to look for heat signatures, anything that could indicate Ryker was out there and alive. And hours passed, but there was still nothing. Another day had gone by, June 5th. The mood had changed. People were starting to fear for the worst. It had been over 48 hours at this point. 2 full days in the wilderness, no food, no water, no protection from the cold. But then something happened. A couple living about 2 miles away from where Ryker went missing decided to check their property. They'd been hearing strange noises coming from their shed. It was a shed out back where they kept their generator, and they assumed it was maybe some sort of animal. But when they went to check, they heard a voice, a tiny little voice. And when they opened the shed, there was Ryker, huddled up in the corner. He was dirty, he was cold, he was terrified, but he was alive. It turns out he had crawled inside of the bag of a lawnmower to keep warm through those freezing nights. He was wearing the same red and blue outfit he disappeared in, just covered in dirt and leaves. His hair was matted and his face was pale, but he was responsive. He was taken to the hospital for evaluation, and miraculously, he was fine. A little dehydrated, a little hungry, but he was physically okay. Doctor said it was nothing short of a miracle that he had survived. But when photos of Ryker from the hospital started circulating online, people immediately noticed something. His wide eyes, that blank, almost haunted expression. It didn't look like the face of a child who'd just been found. It looked like a child who'd seen something he couldn't explain, and that's where the internet theories began. People believed it was a simple case of a boy getting lost and surviving through sheer luck, or maybe with the help of his dog before the dog returned home. But others online started to piece together theories that went much further. And of course, once that happened, the rumors started flying. One claim that spread like wildfire was that Ryker had been found wearing different clothes, which made people think something darker had happened. But that rumor has since been debunked by his older brother. Apparently, the confusion came from early reports giving inconsistent descriptions of what he was last seen wearing. It wasn't a cover-up, just typical chaos during a fast-moving missing person case. And I've noticed during cases like this that there is a lot of information that doesn't align and goes back and forth because of the time of date that they were posted. So I have seen things being reported that were later debunked. And his brother even went on TikTok to clear things up, saying that the before photo everyone was sharing, the one used in all the viral comparisons where he's smiling, it was actually taken some time before. So Ryker wasn't found in different clothes. He wasn't mysteriously changed by some entity. It was just the internet doing what the internet usually does. But still though, The photo itself, the one of him in the hospital visibly shaken and his eyes are wide, is what really fueled the supernatural side of things. One of the biggest theories floating around was the skinwalker or Wendigo idea. And if you're not familiar, skinwalkers are part of Navajo folklore, shapeshifters that can take on the form of animals or humans. People online speculated that maybe Ryker had seen something like that in the woods, that his look, the wide eyes, were because he encountered something that wasn't human. Some other users claimed that he might have been taken by elemental beings or spirits of the forest, and that time worked differently where he went, and that's why he looked so changed. Others thought it was more sinister, that maybe he'd been abducted and then returned, or that the parents were somehow involved. And to be fair, there was an investigation into the parents. Police noted that they had waited about 2 hours before reporting Ryker missing, which led to a child neglect inquiry. Afterward, child welfare services removed Ryker and his siblings from the home while the situation was reviewed. His siblings, including the older brother who later defended the family online, were placed elsewhere for some time. But still, police never found any evidence of foul play in Ryker's actual disappearance. No injuries, no signs of abuse, no indication that anyone else had been involved. But people still weren't satisfied with that. Theories kept evolving. Again, with the cryptid encounters, others toward government cover-ups, a few claiming Ryker had been a part of some supernatural that couldn't be explained. Here's the thing. I get it. The story is eerie. The photo is unsettling. But I think at some point, the way the internet treated this case, it got really weird. Like, people just weren't happy that this baby was safe, that he was healthy, that he was alive. And that's where the true problem lies. This is where I annoy myself with being this middleman, but I can also see the other side. Like I said, I kind of understand why people can't look away. There's something about cases like this that touch on our deepest fears, losing a child, being alone in the woods, the unknown. We want to make sense of it. We want an explanation that fits the feeling that the story gives us, right? So do I think it's aliens or elementals or skinwalkers? In this instance, I'm going to ultimately say no. Now, do I think Ryker, this baby, saw or experienced something that might have changed him, even for a short time? Absolutely. And that photo of Ryker with those wide eyes, seeing this baby in shock, it's still one of those images that just kind of sits with you. Like, it's heartbreaking, it's terrifying, it's really unsettling too. And it makes you think about what's really out there in these dark corners of the wilderness, and what exactly does one experience when they're alone in the wild, let alone when they're 3. And now let's dive into Ralph vs. the Rot, where I react to your stories and answer your questions while doing my best to give you a fair perspective and or a little advice. As always, if you would like me to share an experience of yours, share something you find creepy or interesting, or you simply want to ask me a question, send an email to screamsocietypodcast@gmail.com or head on over to beacons.ai/The Scream Society and click on the Society submissions link. Like I said last episode, I just revamped that entire anonymous submission link, so please check it out. And like I said, everything remains anonymous. This has turned into an episode of Catfish, and hey, I'm here for it. I'm grateful for how vulnerable some of you are for sharing your stories. Like I always say, maybe your story can help someone. Now, at the beginning of the episode, someone shared this story with me about something that happened back in their sophomore year of high school. They said they were struggling with their sexuality and ended up joining online communities for comfort, where they met a guy who claimed to be 19, but after months of talking every day, things getting a little too personal, and even getting gifts in the mail, it turned out the guy was actually in his 40s using someone else's photos. He said the moment he found out that he felt sick, he felt scared and paranoid, but stuck it out a little. Then, when he ended things, he felt like this man could show up at their house any day and out him. Okay, I think myself and so many in the LGBTQ plus community can relate to this. We've all done stupid things as teens, and speaking for myself, have been so desperate for community that we join these sites that could potentially be unsafe. Thinking back, when was it? I believe I was also a sophomore or junior in high school. I had just gotten my first computer, and this was the jackpot for me because I was on all the little gay sites talking with men, lying about my age. Oh my God, my favorite site was this site called D-List, which was super colorful and it was really streamlined and wasn't confusing. There was also gay.com. Gay.com, yes. Gaywatch, the memories with Gaywatch. Gaywatch was probably the closest to MySpace at that time. Not to go off on a tangent here and list all the gay sites I was on, but my point is that there was access to potentially dangerous content for an underage teen. And at first, I wasn't really mad at the guy because he didn't know your age. But then I kept reading, and after you telling him the truth, and he still wanted to continue, then got a little crazy. Now we're going into weird groomer diddler territory. And he was 40, threatening to out a 16-year-old. Grow up. But if I have any underage listeners out there, let this be an example of something you don't want to get into. Just be aware and try your hardest to talk to people who say that they are who they are, and be honest about yourself. Because the beautiful thing about modern times is there is safe community out there. It may seem like we are in a regressive time, which I do think we are, but I still believe that there are still safe spaces out there. We're going to move on. I have a question for you. Do you believe a dream could actually shape or even change your life? It's a fascinating idea when you really think about it. Well, recently on the podcast Instagram at Scream Society Podcast, I asked listeners to share their spookiest experiences, and one of them sent in this voice message. Take a listen.
It actually wasn't terrifying. It was just weird. It was when I was very young and my dad was in the military, and me and my sister were asleep. We slept in bunk beds, and I woke up from a dream and said to my mother that I think it was my great-grandmother had come to me in a dream and had said to me that we needed to get our coats and shoes and go down to my mother because that's what we needed to do. And I obviously woke from my dream and went down to my mother and told her this. And my mum would be a great believer in things like that, as am I. And she started getting our coats and our shoes together just to have them. And literally a couple of minutes after she had both of us sat in the living room with coats and everything sort of ready, the military police came to our door and said that there was a bomb about 100 yards away from our back door, and that we were being emergency evacuation, and they got us out obviously and took us away, and we were literally walking out of our, what we would say, estate when the bomb exploded. We were then obviously fine, but my parents went back the next day to check out the house. Nearly everything was demolished. Everything was ruined. My parents lost, like, pretty much everything. And, like, my dad went into what was our bedroom, and the top bunk was, the whole ceiling had collapsed in on it, and the lower bunk, there was a giant shard of glass out the window which had like pierced straight through the mattress. So if we had been still in our bed when that went off, almost certainly we would not be here today. So like I say, a warning from a dead relative saved us from a bomb going off. So that's my creepy tale, and every time I tell it, I manage to get goosebumps or give people goosebumps. So yeah, weird, but true.
And sure, we've all heard of getting messages from loved ones who have passed in dreams before, which could be drawn to our brains trying to process something in our day-to-day lives, right? There's so much shit going on. We deal with a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, all of that. But this, to me, is probably a clear example of a loved one guiding them, watching over them. And this one is so extraordinary. Thank you for sharing. Let's do some questions before wrapping up. Just heard your ep talking about Silvia Browne. She was wild. I also follow you on Instagram and always see her profile, liking her videos, calling me out. Aside from the social anxiety one you shared, do any others stand out? This chick was straight making shit up. Do I have other faves? Actually, yes.
Father's brother disappeared about 20-something years ago, and the whole family has no idea whether he's alive or dead.
He drowned.
Sylvia, my parents divorced when I was 2 years old, and I don't know my biological father.
You don't want to.
Okay. Not
you
at all.
don't.
Thank you.
Hi, Sylvia. My name is Hasna, and I'm about 18 years ago, my father went on a business trip and never returned. Oh. The day that he was supposed to come, he called and never came. My family searched high and low, no results. So I just want to know if he's dead or alive.
No, he's alive in Florida.
Does that make sense?
No, but thank you.
You know, that's like going out for a pack of cigarettes and not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia, my 5.5-month-old son seems to talk to someone.
Sure.
And could you tell me who it is? Or
yeah, it's an older woman. Yeah, a small older woman. And also the guide by the name of Thaddeus.
Okay, thank you.
Feel somebody that's with me. They follow me. I feel them inside my body. When they do that, I can't talk. I can't move. I feel like I'm talking and moving, but nobody seems to hear me.
You have to go to a doctor.
Every time I go to my brother's home, my sister-in-law says, "You're surrounded by angels." Is that true?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a shame she isn't.
Yeah, so when my father was in the hospital in his dying bed, he kept repeating my name and trying to tell me something. So I was always curious. Okay.
My dad did the same thing. He kept calling out Sylvia. Will you do me a favor? Would you please get your thyroid checked?
Okay. All right.
No, but he was calling out that he loved
you already did you say?
Look at my thyroid checked?
No, she hasn't. No, but I want her to. Because I don't want her to get into Graves' disease.
My brother passed away 2.5 years ago. He was 43 from an aneurysm. I was wondering if you...
Who's Mark?
I don't know.
There's an older man, Mark, that said he met him.
I'll have to look.
On the other side?
Yeah. Will you please ask?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but as far as your brother is concerned, he went just like that.
Yes, he did.
Although, he said, now that's unusual because I do know of Sharon Stone fairly well. I'm not dropping names. He didn't have any of the pain that's, that's usually, he had headaches, but not that searing pain like she had. You know what I mean?
He just complained he had a headache and not enough to make him go to the
Didn't I just say
hospital.
that? I said all he said was he had a headache. Yeah. But she had a searing pain that knocked her across the room. Do you see what I mean? He had a searing pain, but he, boom, went.
Yes.
Hi, Sylvia. I was diagnosed with severely scarred fallopian tubes. I went through 4 rounds of in vitro. I got pregnant with twins. I lost my son. My daughter, thank God, is still here at 29 weeks of abruption. I went through 3 more rounds of IVF with no success. Is there any way that a miracle could happen for me to get pregnant naturally?
No, you're going to have to adopt.
Queen of rush readings, icon of scams. Thank you to everyone who submitted or suggested a topic. This episode was truly a roller coaster, from fun topics to more serious ones, and it's all thanks to you all. So thank you for engaging with me and allowing me to create this little chaotic show for you all. Please make sure to go and check out my merch, Society merch. Check all the links in bio for that. And most of all, have fun and be safe this Halloween. Enjoy. Thank you so much for listening in. And until next time, I will scare you on the next episode.
He drowned.
Thank you for tuning into the Scream Society podcast, hosted, written, produced, and edited by yours truly, Ralph Anthony. Help the society grow by subscribing on your favorite platform and leave a rating and review. I always strive for 5s. Have a horror or paranormal experience? Want me to answer your questions on the show? Submit to beacons.ai/The Scream Society. Connect with the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Scream Society Podcast. And until next time, I'll scare you on the next episode.